just a minute. But off to my left, we have Barry Latter, who's a former Boeing engineer in propulsion in the early days of the 747 and on. Next to Barry, we have Captain Ann Simpson from Delta, formerly Northwest. She'll be talking to us about flying the current model 747, the 400, I should say. And next to Ann, we have Captain Jim Lindley. He also is was with Northwest. He was on the early airplanes, the early models. And next to Captain Lindley, we have flight engineer from Pan Am and Tower Air, John Anderson. John has quite a history going back to the Pan Am flying boats. And he also, I think his total time as a flight engineer is like 39 years. So you're going to hear from each of these, and you'll hear more about their background. But what I'd like to do now is to introduce your moderator, Mike Lombardi. Mike's been with the Boeing company for 32 years. Half that time, or over half that time, he's been the corporate senior historian. He is a writer, a presenter. He has gone on to consult a number of programs that you see listed here, including the most recent TV show, Pan Am. Now, he didn't write the script, but he consulted on the technical aspects of that. So with that, I'm going to invite Mike Lombardi up to the podium, and we'll begin our program. Mike?
I'm not going to take any credit for that script, just the technical part of it in that show. I want to thank Mike and the rest of the folks from the museum for putting this on, and it's a lot of work, it's a great opportunity to get to learn a lot about various parts of aviation history. So let's give it a hand. It's an honor to be with this panel of amazingly dedicated, intelligent people who have dedicated their lives to flight, but more dedicated their lives to safety, making sure we get where we want to go in one piece. So it's a real honor. But before can you hear me? Before I get to them, a little background on the 747. Glasses. All right. The 100. This amazing picture shows that it is twice the size of the 707. This shows that Boeing invented Airbus. Airbus was a class of plane. Wide body that carried a lot of people. Who knows what this mountain doesn't look like that anymore?
St. Helens.
St. Helens. I give you an idea. That's what pre-1980.
Looks like Mount Adams.
One of the more popular 747s is 200. VC-25, better known as Air Force One. The 200 had 10 windows, except for this one. So that's one way to tell the 200 from a 100. Boeing had a program to extend or to refit the upper deck, so a lot of 100s did get the 10 windows. So not always an easy way to tell. This is what a 747 freighter could carry, about 100 tons of freight. And from the start, the 747 was built to be a freighter, so this clearly illustrates how great of a freighter it is. Currently, 747s carry half of the world's air cargo. I think 777s carry most of the rest. The SP, the special performance, 50 feet was taken out of the rear fuselage. This allowed the plane to fly 8,000 nautical miles. It was designed for long-range flights. It had a bigger tailplane, about 10 feet. And one of the faster 747s could go about 0.92 Mach.
Wow.
It's 747, I think the panelists might talk about this in a little bit, is one of the faster commercial jets. With the hump, helps give the area rule, increasing its speed, plus the sweepback on the wing, which is generally more than what you see in some of the other commercial planes. So very fast plane. The 300, the 300 introduced the stretched upper deck, adding about 27 feet, a little more than 27 feet. And here's the rollout of the first one. Next, the 400, one of the more popular version of the 747 right now. The 747-400 introduced the glass cockpit that was developed in the 757 and 767, and this eliminated the need for the flight engineer. In this picture, you'll see the F-86 chase plane, which is now parked out here in the Gray Gallery. It's got a different color scheme on it. It's painted in the colors that originally came to Boeing Field in, but same airplane. And this is the 747-400M. The M was a combi. Most of the 747 models had an M version. It was designed to carry both freight and passengers, and it had the side cargo door. The 747-400 freighter, right now the world's most popular freighter, the best freighter in the world. Our new 747-8 will certainly take its place and extend that legacy. But right now this is where most of the air freight is, the plane is carrying most of the world's air freight. I think Boeing has, I think last I saw something like 92% of the market. And there it is, the 747-8, our new freighter. It has, let's see, it carries 16% more, has 16% more capacity than the 400, and has achieved a maximum takeoff weight of over 1 million pounds. And finally, the 747-8 International, the 8I, Intercontinental, and that name is purposely taken from the 707-320, which was also the Intercontinental, so a little tie back to our heritage. The 747 can carry 467 passengers and has a range of about 8,000 nautical miles. So there's a little bit of an overview. And for more information on this, we're going to turn to our panel. And first up on our panel, one of the things at Boeing that always amazes me, every day when I go to work, I meet amazing people that do amazing things. Fabulously brilliant people, and Barry Ladder is proof of this. He's a brilliant engineer, and it was his job to make sure that these new high bypass engines, this new technology, was integrated onto our new airplane, and not just the 747, but the 5767. And it's a job where really failure is not an option, and you can, when you hear Barry talk about this, you can see his attention to detail. So, here to talk about the most complicated and expensive piece of our airplanes is Barry Ladder.
Thank you, Mike. You wouldn't believe how much I had to pay to give that kind of introduction. You know, I had a very satisfying 33-year career with the Boeing company in engineering. And when you add up the years, I find that half of that career was spent in association with the 747. And we, first of all, my family and I immigrated here in 1966. You'll notice I speak funny. And we had read the tourist brochures about Seattle, and it said Seattle nestled between two ranges of mountains, and it's perfectly acceptable climate. It never snows in Seattle. This is the very first picture I took in Seattle. This is a Pan American 707-320 landing at SeaTac, and yes, that's a broken airplane in front of the airplane there, or out on the side. And that was our introduction. This was our third and final, thankfully, approach to SeaTac. The captain telling us that if we didn't make it on the third approach, we were going to San Francisco. And since we had an 18-month-old child with us, believe me, that was not what I wanted to hear. But anyway, so we finally got here, and I was lucky enough to join an organization known as the Advanced Propulsion Group. And in April of 1966, when we kicked off the 747 formally, that became the 747 propulsion staff. And really, the story of my early career at the Boeing company follows the early development and the introduction into airline service of the 747. So what I'd like to do over the next couple of minutes or so is to try to put something in context here that I think goes some way towards explaining the kind of challenges that we and the other people on this panel had to deal with as we got into airline service. First of all, following World War II, the commercial airline business really, and the commercial airplane business, really benefited from the capacity and the intelligence that had been generated, knowledge and talent, if you like, from the airplane activity during World War II. And with the introduction of the early jets and the economic recovery after World War II, we began to see a quite significant increase in the passenger carrying requirement being placed on the airlines. And there were studies being done at the time that suggested that by about 1980, we would run out of capacity both on the airplanes and the airports around the world. And that focused a lot of attention in the early 60s upon larger airplanes with bigger passenger carrying capacity. Now what that generated, apart from anything else, was an immediate requirement for bigger engines. And the engineering profession at the time, and this is one of the reasons I came to Boeing in the first place, had discovered that if you managed to accelerate a lot of air slowly, it was a lot more efficient than accelerating a small amount of air very quickly. And the so-called high bypass ratio engine was born. This is a cross-section of the engine that we used initially on the 747, the Pratt & Whitney JT9. And that engine had a big fan at the front. That's an 8-foot diameter fan. And 5/6 of the air that goes into that fan actually goes around the engine that's behind it. And a fifth or a sixth of that air goes through the inlet. That's a so-called 5-to-1 bypass ratio. And that was, for its day, one of the engines that we had calculated would be far more efficient than the same thrust level engine with a different kind of engineering or engine cycle that was in the airplane. And believe me, we needed a bigger engine. We've been dealing with 15,000 pound thrust engines as nominal before that, with the 707 as it were. And we had an airplane here that on passenger capacity was 2.5 times what that airplane would carry. And the picture that Mike showed a minute ago kind of gives you some idea of the scale. And so what we did was we found ourselves going from convention to much bigger engines. The first JT90 was a 41,000 pound engine, and it went into service ultimately at 43,500 pounds. And that was because the airplane had actually increased in weight for various reasons up until the first in-service activity. But giving rise to the high bypass ratio engine meant that we were developing an engine, we were developing an airplane, and because of the other workload going on in the Boeing company, we needed a brand new factory in which to build the 747. And so we were building all of those three things together. And not only that, but the customer, in the first case Pan American Airways, Pan American World Airways was acting as to fly the first airplane in an unprecedented 28 months from go-ahead to first flight. And 28 months is pretty short. It's about 30% shorter than what we developed most of the jet airplanes prior to that. So you can imagine that kind of generated a few challenges. And from a personal standpoint, the engines, or the handling of those Pratt & Whitney engines, was the kind of focus of my life for the next several years. And I'll say this, the Pratt & Whitney engine that you see here was sensitive.
For clank.
That's a little understatement, but anyway, it was sensitive to certain throttle movements. It was sensitive to temperature and pressure distortion that went into the front end of the engine. And it was also sensitive from the standpoint that that fan, being 4 foot diameter, was mounted in the airplane by grabbing a hold of the top of the fan case and also the back end of the turbine case. And when the thrust came on, the engine actually bent. It was a thin-walled cylinder that wasn't quite thick enough thin-walled cylinder. And it bent. And of course, as something like that bends, it's going to go elliptical, which is not too good when you've got a 15,000 RPM high compressor going around there with blades and it stays round. So it was cutting into the casing, and that engine suffered from what we call surge. Now, this next picture shows one of the examples of how that JT9B suffered that problem. What surge is a